Here's a daily news report and fourth stimulus check update. Many new lawmakers in the House of Representatives are urging President Joe Biden to add a fourth stimulus payment into his Build Back Better plan. Everybody, do you believe that the president will send out a fourth stimulus check before the end of the year? Tell me in the comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a like.
Hey folks, listen up. I'm going to tell you about a benefit of the rescue plan you might not know about. I'm going to ask you to tell your friends and your families about it. You probably got a stimulus check a few months ago. That's from the American Rescue Plan. There's more to the plan than that.
Now, Democratic House Representative Pramila Jayapal recently wrote in a Twitter post, "Putting money into people's pockets works. We can and must continue to enact people-first policies that improve lives." Representative Jayapal pointed to new data by researchers. They reported that the three past round of stimulus checks substantially reduced hardships for the American people. Now, studies continue to show that more financial relief should be passed for Americans like you and I. The New York Times first reported on the results of the University of Michigan study, which prompted progressives in Congress to share the report, saying that it makes a case for recurring payments in universal basic income. Rashida Tlaib, the vice chair of the Progressive Caucus, also wrote on Twitter, "If anything, the survival checks proved what advocates have been saying and demanding." Their voices were joined by Representative Ilhan Omar, and she tweeted, "A case study for implementing universal basic income." Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders also said this, folks, "Yes, government can and should continue to address the needs of working people, not just the 1%.
The fact that when you get a 30-minute break, it takes you 10 minutes to get to the break station and 10 minutes back."
As the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, let me tell you what I mean by the kind of budget that we have got to bring forth in Congress. And what that means is that for the last 48 years, wages for working people have gone down.
So everybody, I'm really happy to hear that lawmakers in Congress are finally stepping up to the plate and trying to help out the American people like you and I. Now folks, President Biden has presented the next two phases of his Build Back Better plan, which would see an additional $4 trillion in spending on infrastructure and American families. Both pieces of legislation have been receiving opposition from Republicans because of the large size of the plans. A bipartisan group of 20 senators has reached an initial agreement on a framework for a $1 trillion infrastructure investment package, but progressive members of Congress have slammed it for not tackling the challenges that climate change presents. On the other hand, everybody, Republican lawmakers want the legislation to focus on traditional infrastructure. Lindsey Graham of South Carolina told reporters, "This has got to be the meat and potatoes of infrastructure, and that's roads, bridges, and ports, and that's what we're trying to push." And folks, House Representative Rashida Tlaib continues to push for the ABC Act to be signed into law. Pramila Jayapal and Rashida Tlaib reintroduced the Automatic Boost to Communities Act, also called the ABC Act. In this legislation, to immediately provide a $2,000 payment to every person in America as critical relief during the crisis, followed by $1,000 recurring monthly payments that continue for 1 year after the end of the crisis to help our country and families recover. The ABC Act would be funded directly from the Treasury with no additional debt issued by minting two $1 trillion coins and additional coins as necessary. The ABC Act is a great bill that would really benefit Americans that are struggling financially right now. In a Twitter post, Tlaib also wrote, "This is how we address the poverty crisis. The ABC Act, with $2,000 a month. The Boost Act, which elevates 45% of people out of poverty. And that is the closest policy to universal income." If anything, survival checks proved what advocates have been saying and demanding. Congresswoman Jayapal said in a statement, "1 in 7 families don't have enough food to eat. More than 8 million people have been pushed into poverty. Nearly 1 million new people are filing for unemployment every single week. This unprecedented moment demands an unprecedented response. People don't need only relief. They need stability, certainty, and predictability. And the ABC Act delivers them exactly that." Thank you for watching, everybody. That is all the news in this video. I hope all of you guys found this video useful and helpful. If you did, feel free to subscribe to my channel and give a like on this video. And everybody, who do you believe is holding back our stimulus check? Is it the Democrats or Republicans? Tell me in the comments down below, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, have a great day.
Organized labor. of our unions who have fought for all workers, including their membership. So I'm here to thank you all on behalf of the President and myself, and then to rededicate ourselves to the work we need to get done. And in particular, we created the White House Task Force on Worker Organizing and Empowerment, and the President has asked the Secretary and I to lead that, and it is in many ways about addressing not only what we must do to reinforce the right of collective bargaining, card check issues like that, but also what we need to do to address the barriers that stand in the way of workers organizing. Because there are still so many, and you all know that, which is why we're going to have this conversation today. So-called right-to-work laws, employer intimidation, which we hear about sometimes on the television and on the nightly news, and sometimes and often we don't hear about it, but you all do, and so we got to talk about that. Barriers in terms of a tax on card check. And our administration feels very strongly that there is no issue that we could take on that is too small or too big to do what we must do to remove the barriers to workers having the ability, the true, real ability, to join a union and to organize. The American Rescue Plan was a fight against many of these barriers by our administration, one of the first issues that we took on, and thanks to organized labor and many others, we got it passed. The American Rescue Plan, as the President will talk about, is unabashedly pro-union. We are very proud that our administration will probably be the most pro-union of any we've seen before. So in the American Rescue Plan, we put in $350 billion for states and cities and towns to help protect public sector jobs, which we remember have been under threat of at least reducing the numbers, if not getting rid of some of them altogether. In that plan, we got $170 billion in funding for schools to get schools reopened safely, but to also protect and support our teachers and our educators throughout the educational system. So it's the teachers, it's the school bus drivers, it's the cafeteria workers, all of the folks who are part of making education real in our country. Nearly $31 billion went to funding for transit systems. Of course, let's talk there about the essential work, especially highlighted during the pandemic, of our transit workers, who every day drove people around perfect.
During the Rules Committee markup, Republicans and Democrats offered a number of amendments, some of which were adopted on a bipartisan basis. That's what we're supposed to do, work it through committee. These amendments have been heralded by some of my Democrat colleagues as an example of how we can work together on this issue. Despite this, bipartisan amendments in the Rules Committee, despite this, the version that the majority leader may bring up for a vote does not include any of the amendments that were adopted during the markup.